So I know the world is freaking out about the Lakers, but they've got so many excuses not to be worried. I mean, they don't have their full squad. If they just beat the Thunder, they start 7-3, which is really good. But then I heard Russell Westbrook say something that is a huge red flag. So if you missed the last Blazers loss, Russ scored 8 points, went 1 for 13 from the field, had 6 assists and 6 turnovers. Quite a triple single. Oh, and by the way, he had more horrible defense. It's obvious Russ is not himself. He is thinking too much, and it is ruining his and the Lakers' game. And there were so many times in these last few losses, the Russ haters could say, "I told you so." He turned it over, left his man at the end of the game against OKC. He had mental mistakes and bad offense against Portland. But the really sad thing about this is that LA gave up Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Montrezl Harrell, and let Alex Caruso go to get this guy, Russell Westbrook. Oh, and by the way, the night before, Buddy Hield hit 8 threes to beat the Hornets. 8 threes. Do you know how good that would be on this team? Alex Caruso and KCP are playing great defense for their teams, and defense is the Lakers' real problem. Oh, and couldn't they have potentially gotten DeMar DeRozan? I am sorry, but LA should fire their GM, LeBron James. The whole idea of getting Russ was to add more star talent. And I say all the time on this channel that I think stars win in the playoffs. I don't care how deep your bench is or how really good your few players are, like Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan when they were on the Raptors and they got the 1 seed. One star is better than 3 or 4 good players in the postseason. But what if Russ is not a star on the Lakers? What if taking him out of his comfort zone turns him into just a pretty good player? It reminds me of like the beach on vacation. I see the beach on TV when I'm at home dreaming about vacation, like, oh my God, I cannot wait to get there. The palm trees and the sand and a cold drink, it's gonna be so good. But have you ever actually like lived by the beach? I have. You never go. I think I went like an entire year, a full year, not ever going to the beach when it was like, you know, a mile away from my house. The beach is a lot better like in your mind, but if you take it out of that one context, vacation, it's just kind of there, which is exactly like Russell Westbrook. If he is not like dominating the game, he's just kind of there. And actually, that is exactly what Russ kind of said after that loss to Portland.
Gotta play harder. And that's strictly just speaking for myself. Do a better job of just being me, you know, consistently, and not confiding my game or how I play, because it just doesn't work for our team. It doesn't work, you know, just in general, just doesn't put me in the position or pace that I need to play at to be able to better my teammates. So that's just something that I need to make sure I'm consistently doing.
Okay, so to recap, he needs to just be himself more. He can't confine his game because it hurts the team. Well, guess what? This is not Russ's team. This is LeBron James' team. How is this gonna work when LeBron is healthy and they have Trevor Ariza, THT, Kendrick Nunn? I mean, guys are gonna hit more shots, the ball is gonna move more, and Russ will just be, I don't know, the beach. It looks good in your mind, but in reality, it just doesn't work. But this is not Russell Westbrook's fault. That is not what I'm saying. Because the Lakers are basically asking him to be one guy when LeBron is gone, be Russ, and then when LeBron's healthy, be a different version of Russ, and just flip back and forth. That is not fair. Like in the Blazers loss, it looked like Russ was trying to be like that facilitator, let other guys be the star of the show, and it totally failed. If this was OKC or like even Wizards Russ, he would have dominated every possession of the game and at least kept it close. Instead, he is just trying to like fit into this team, and it's turning him into an average player. I mean, some parts of the old Russ are still there, you know, like turning the ball over inexplicably, or like leaving his man with 10 seconds to go in the OKC game, or bricking threes. But unless Russ can be himself, like he said in that soundbite, the Lakers are going to lose, because this stat made me go,
Things that make you go,
We all know that Russ has been on 4 different teams in 4 years, but did you know that in the last 5 years, no Russell Westbrook team has won more than 50 games? Even the Russ Harden Rockets went 44-28 in an 82-game season, and they weren't that bad. But 50 games is not what we expected from this Lakers team. That is not good enough. I think part of that stat is that Russ probably needs to figure it out the first half of the year with his new teammates. But I said the Lakers could be a top 3 seed in the West. Yeah, it's looking like the play-in game is a little more realistic. However, the perfect solution to all of this, and there is a solution to this with Russ on the Lakers, is for him to be LA's 6th man. And I know that sounds insane because it is, but think about it. Instead of unfairly asking Russ to flip between being himself and not being himself, he can just own the second unit and be the Russ that we all know and love off the bench. I know Russ will never accept that, but a crazy situation needs a crazy solution. The only way that he could stay in the starting lineup is if he changed his game like Kevin Love or Chris Bosh did when they play with LeBron. But Russ just doesn't have that other gear to go to. He just doesn't. Kevin Love or Chris Bosh at least could defend and they could hit threes, they could move off the ball. Russ does none of that. Russ knows how to play one way, and that is not gonna work. That one way that doesn't work takes shots away from LeBron, takes shots away from AD, and a Russell Westbrook team has a really low playoff ceiling. Another solution would be to trade Russ like the Cavaliers did with Dwayne Wade when it was clear that was not going to work with LeBron. But the problem is the Cavs got a 2nd round pick for Dwayne Wade. They just cannot afford that with this roster. They're really just stuck with Russ unless he is willing to come off the bench. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's just 10 games in, they've got time, but I do not see this working out. But the other dirty little secret of this Lakers team is that Russ is not the only person to blame, or the GM. Anthony Davis is really lucky that Russell Westbrook is playing horrible because he is playing horrible. AD is playing way below his standards. I mean, even without LeBron, the Lakers are supposed to have the best player on the floor, right? Like against the Thunder or the Rockets or the Spurs. They either lost or almost lost all of those games. AD is playing subpar defense, and it is a part of the reason they have to play DeAndre Jordan, even though DJ is basically washed up. He is their only reliable paint defender. When he is out, even just out of the game, just sitting on the bench getting rest, other teams get easy buckets in the paint. At this point, without Alex Caruso, KCP, their other guards, they are starting Avery Bradley on the wing, who the Warriors just cut before their season started. Oh yeah, and Austin Reeves, I said big props to Austin Reeves in our rookies video because he's been great for an undrafted player. But when you're closing games with Austin Reeves and Avery Bradley, I'm sorry, Lakers fans, this just isn't gonna work unless Russell Westbrook makes a huge adjustment and actually accepts coming off the bench. By the way, if you want to see that rookies video, check it out. I've got the top 5 rookies so far. Obviously, Cade Cunningham is not there because even when we have seen him, he hasn't looked that great. This is not, by the way, saying this is who the rookies are going to be the rest of the year or this is what the rookies are going to look like in 5 years. It's just taking a look at how these guys have played so far because honestly, I've been really impressed.